Good morning. It is Friday morning. It is time for the live stream. I'm having some technical difficulties. I can't quite get my camera to work. So I guess we'll go with this MacBook camera for now. And I think that'll be quite okay. Quality, not so good. The place I need to look, different. Will I answer your questions all the same? Yes. Yes, I will. So I'm going to get this disclaimer rolling. Go ahead and post any questions you might have in the chat. And we'll get this thing rolling. I've got my first closing today at 11, which is pretty exciting. And let's see here. After that, going to look at some properties, but nothing too exciting. I've got to go check out one property. There was a fire last night, so I need to go look at that before the closing. So this is probably going to be a shorter one. Lewis Nason, good morning, sir. And just to clarify, this fire was not at one of our properties, but one of the properties that I write the insurance for. So just need to go help that guy sift through how to fix that and all the appropriate steps. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's see here, some wins that I've got for the week. Let me think. I got my life insurance all set up. That's a little bit morbid, but I recently decided that it was time to reevaluate all of that. So increased the face amounts on the policies, added a couple more policies. So now I'm very confident in, the succession of the business and the welfare, the well-being of my family if some horrible tragedy were to occur. So that feels good. It's never something that's fun to think about or talk about, but it's necessary once there's like responsibilities and stuff. And then from a property perspective, we had 18 under contract, and then we closed on a couple and put some more under contract. So let me see. We currently have 17 properties under contract, and I believe we're closing on 2 of them today. Yep, 2 of them are closing today. Neither of them are rent ready. One is, I think I shared a video where I walked through like an abandoned house. It had some spray paint in it. There was no real front door. That's the one that we're closing on today. A really tiny house. It's going to be a lot of work. The electric meter was just cut out. It was missing. There's probably the whole house needs to be rewired. So it's got $10,000 worth of just wiring that needs to be done, which is pretty bizarre. Yep, sure enough. Welcome, man. How's your crypto doing? You still making it out okay on crypto? Let's see. It's a big day, though. It's a big day overall. One of the guys that moved up here to take advantage of the real estate market, he moved up here 13 months ago, and he's closing on the package of 7 properties today, which is going to take him up to 11 properties. So that's really, really exciting, especially considering that when he moved up here 13 months ago, he thought it was going to take him, multiple years, if not decades, to get up to 10 properties. So the fact he was able to do it so quickly makes me pretty excited on his behalf. It's a good market, still a gold mine up here in the Dayton area. A lot of properties. I think there are now 11,000 vacant homes in Dayton, which is down significantly from when it was at its worst, but it's still a lot of vacant homes. And right now, especially with the property values going up, a lot of the homes that are vacant are going to be, they're worth over $100,000 if they're fixed up. And in most cases, it won't take $100,000 worth of work to get them. So if you can acquire them still for $40,000 or less, you're going to be doing the neighborhood a service, and you'll be making some good money. So I highly advise anyone that's on the fence about moving. I'm going to make an offer on a house today. The realtor is going to walk the property for me at 10 a.m. The seller says that there's a rental agreement for $945 per month until April 2023. Nice. What are contingencies you ask for when making an offer a house and they claim it comes with a rental income, rental agreement, deposit, anything else? So the deposit has to come along. You'll likely get that back on the HUD. And then if you can verify the lease, that should sum it up. And then I would just make sure that you get, honestly, keys are one of the hardest parts, getting the keys. And then also make sure that you get the resident's phone number and email address. Those are the three most forgotten, probably because they're so basic. And oftentimes when things get complicated, we look over the basic stuff. So keys, phone number, email address, those are the things that I would want. And then from there, I mean, if you've got the lease that states the rental amount, then that's solid. And then as far as contingencies go, we really just make it contingent on the walkthrough. Man, I keep looking at the wrong camera. We generally just make it contingent on the walkthrough. So if everything looks good, I mean, you've got some construction experience, so I don't know if you're going to be able to like FaceTime with the realtor while the realtor's walking through it. I don't know if, it's worthwhile to make a special trip out here to walk through it for yourself after you put the offer on and get it accepted. And I think that would probably be pretty smart if you're able to do that. FaceTime. Sweet. Yeah, so then I would just recommend that once you get it under contract, just to come on out here and look at it yourself. It is generally not a good idea to buy properties without seeing them first. In some cases, especially since this is a new relationship with that realtor, I would recommend not necessarily just taking their word for it if you have the ability to come on out here. Other than that, sounds like a good deal. What's the purchase price on it? $950. That's a solid rental price. That seems, I don't know how many bedrooms it is or what size it is, but that seems like it's up to market. And then 70,000 is a good price. They'll probably take that if they're serious about selling it. Yeah, 70,000 for a $945 return. That's pretty good. I think I'd probably do that. 70,000. Again, I'm not familiar with that market here. 70,000 would be pretty close to, well, not anymore. Now these properties are worth like 80 to 95,000. It's really tough to adjust everything I know about what's the square footage? 3.1. I recently walked 3.1 and it was like 700 square feet. I still don't fully understand how they fit 3 bedrooms in 700 square feet. So tight. But I'm assuming it's not one of those. Assuming this is like 1,500 square feet, I think that's a really solid deal. Even 1,200, really good deal. Yeah, 1,248 makes sense. Basement? Most of these things have basements. That's a big house if it's got a basement. So yeah, you're onto something. Just rough numbers, back of the napkin analysis. It's a good job. It's a good purchase. And then I think, one of the things that I think is really not it's not looked over too much. It's not talked about too often. Is I really think that just as important as finding a good deal, I mean, the financing can make or break you. So if you're able to get some really solid financing on it, like right now, if you go like that traditional loan route, then you're getting a good rate. You're still probably going to be under 4%, maybe under 5%. So that's really good long-term money. Um, but we recently got creative on the financing side with that small house that we're buying today, where the purchase price was 29,000, which is likely more than we should pay for that property. But the owner of it is giving us $21,000 at closing, so we're going to finance $50,000 at 8% over 15 years. So it's fully amortized. So from that perspective, we're going to have to come out of pocket for some money on these closing costs, which is fine. I mean, not on the closing costs, but on the rehab costs. But again, we're like from day one, we're on long-term financing. So I think the monthly payment is going to be somewhere around the $450 mark. And again, that's amortized over 15 years. So uh, even when like numbers don't necessarily work on deals, you can get some appropriate financing on the backside to make it work, if you've got somebody interested in being creative with you. Yeah. So if it's got glass block in the foundation, probably has a basement, which is awesome. What's the best way? I have the 20% down payment or apply for first time home buyer's loan. I want to buy my first house. Are you going to live in this house, or is it going to be like a rental? 5%, 30-year, 15% down. Yep. All day, every day. It's a good deal. It's a very solid first rental. Very solid deal. Good work. So if it's your first home to live in, I don't think you need to put 20% down. I would keep as much money as you can on hand rather than uh, putting it in the down payment. If you're going to live there, and it's your first time buying a home to live in, you could likely find a program that gets you 0% down. I know FHA, if it's in one of these agriculture areas, don't know where it is, but I would recommend that if you're going to live there, at most, even if you went traditional, I think you might have to put 5% down. So I would keep that other 15% just in reserves. Hold that money tight. Keep it on the sidelines forever. Don't touch it. Start saving some more money, and then when you get enough for a rental property after you buy your home, I would just go ahead and do that. I would probably talk to some like local credit unions. That would be my recommendation. They will probably treat you better, give you some better deals, work with you, spend more one-on-one time helping you through the process than some of these larger banks. If you've got the opportunity to use like a loan officer or a mortgage originator, loan originator, mortgage officer, whatever they call themselves, I would use one of them as well. All right, I'll go ahead and get this, post questions in the chat. Any questions you might have, feel free to go ahead and post them in the chat. Buying 2 properties today. They start at 11, and then yeah. New to the channel, enjoy your videos. I appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, Canada. Buy your first rental property, but I can't get a normal mortgage. That's okay. I can't get a normal mortgage either. Any sort of like entrepreneur or real estate investor, normal mortgages are tough. If you've got like a W-2 job and you make some decent money, then you can likely get as many normal mortgages as you'd like, and you could probably form a really solid strategy around that. But not being able to get normal mortgages, that's fine as well. I would recommend researching some private private money individuals, raising private capital. There's a book by Matt Faircloth. It's called Raising Private Capital. It's a solid read. You can get some private money to purchase your first rental properties. You can also reach out to some commercial lenders, figure out what they would want from you to give you a couple of loans. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't lose hope or steam. You could probably do pretty well without normal mortgages. Can I do anything with 20K? You can almost do whatever you want to with 20K. We're buying a house in a couple of weeks for $26,000. It's a very tiny house, but it's $26,000. So, $20,000. I mean, that's a sufficient down payment for any property that is $100,000 or less. Here in the Midwest, you can still regularly find properties for less than $100,000 in great neighborhoods, in great shape. So you can invest anywhere in the Midwest that you would like. Or, but then I won't have any reno money. LOL. Okay, so $20,000 is. I mean, there are homes right now on the MLS for like $50,000 to $70,000, and if you're buying a single family home for $50,000 to $70,000 in the Midwest, you don't need any money. So 25% down, that's 17,500. That won't work. So 70,000 is too much. 50,000, 25% of that, 12,500. So you could shoot for like a $50,000 home if you wanted to buy properties. Nice. Good work, man. I'm happy to hear you're doing all right in crypto. I mean, we look everywhere for properties. So a lot of the stuff that we've purchased right now came right off the MLS. We just submit lower offers than asking price, and sometimes they accept. We get a lot of properties from like word of mouth. We work with wholesalers, so we're on multiple lists from wholesalers. Let's see here. So I've got MLS, word of mouth, wholesalers. A lot of realtors as well. I'm going to separate realtors from MLS because a lot of these realtors, they'll get kind of like the pocket deals is what they call them. Somebody will reach out to them, want to sell a property, and then the realtor will be like, oh, I've got somebody that will probably buy these. You're 19. So first off, congrats on being 19 and having 20 grand. You're in a really solid spot. Let's see here. What are the reasons that you can't get a normal mortgage? Not having a job? Bad credit, no credit? No credit? It wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea in your position since you've got so much time ahead of you. I would not get taken advantage of. I see a lot of people try to take advantage of people that are really young, that have their head on straight, that have some cash to work with and the drive to do better. So definitely make sure that you're vetting the people that are trying to help you or claim that they're going to help you. And I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to encouraging you to find somebody that currently has rentals that is interested in partnering. I think it might also be a good idea for you to partner with somebody on a flip. I don't know what that looks like. If you're handy, if you're able to do some of the work, all of the work, and use someone else's money to do it. But I would definitely, it would be my mom. I'm a real estate agent. Okay. Yeah, man. So shoot me an email. I'm happy to help you out. Ryan@seekwisdom.us. Happy to have a couple phone calls with you. And I'll actually introduce you to another guy that is 20 at the moment. And he's on pace to make somewhere in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, probably by the middle of the year. So he's doing really well. And he is navigating the partnering space. He's not doing much with rentals at the moment, probably for similar reasons that you're stating. But we're working on it, and he's making some progress. So you look at that. I don't know what part of Ohio, but it's all coming together. I'll make some good introductions for you. No way. Good morning. Is it common for houses to sell under asking in the Midwest in this current climate? Yes. We've got about 15 under contract for less than asking as we speak, coming in hard and fast with cash. That'll get you lower than asking. I think that's one of my favorite parts about real estate investing. And I know I say this a decent amount, but what's true for one area isn't necessarily true for the other. I get that, some of these hotter markets is going a little bit crazy, but there's a lot of towns out there still where properties sit on the market for a while. People that have cash can get properties for under asking. There's still a lot of room for negotiation. Now, there are some properties. So we've got one property under contract right now where I'm not going to say it was mispriced. It was probably priced perfectly. It came on the market for, I think it was 55,000, maybe 58,000, but it doesn't need any work. It's dated, but it is functional and fine. And we offered 60,000 on it just because, and we were right. I as soon as it hit the market, I saw what kind of shape it was in, and I knew it was going to be competitive. So I went ahead and put it under contract and offered over asking, but that's not normal. Just had a suspicion that it was going to go very quickly, and it was being sold just to settle in the state. So the lady that lived there took immaculate care of it, and she passed away. So now it's being sold. The heirs don't really want anything to do with it, and it's just being sold as is, where is, as is. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to my camera, but it is not working appropriately today. So I'm just using the webcam on my computer, but hey, it's getting the job done. I just tried to get the camera set up again. Did not work. How did I go about getting a property as I'm in university right now? I want to house hack, and I know people who would be interested. Yeah, that is hands down probably the best thing that you could do right now. I don't quite understand the question as to how you would do it. Okay, now I understand the question as to how. $600,000, $700,000. You're in university. So location is important. So if I recommended that you just move somewhere to where houses aren't $600,000 to $700,000, that wouldn't necessarily be possible. No, I think you need to look around for different lenders. I think if you are focused enough and you look hard enough, you can find a bank that would be willing to work with you. But when we connect, we can talk through that. I'll even pull my brother in to see what he would recommend. And then, you could also talk to the other guy who's currently 20 that is working through these same things. He is in a house at the moment. I'm not quite sure what the underlying financing that he has is, but he's house hacking as well. You're also 19. Man, this is the day of the college kids. I'm a big fan of this. I don't know. I don't know how much cash you have on hand. I don't think that buying a $600,000 to $700,000 house for your first rental or for your first home is necessarily a good idea. I get that the area is really inflated, probably pretty desirable being there at the university and all. But I think if you've got some cash on hand that you don't need for school, maybe I don't know. That's a tough one. I've never tried to buy a six to $700,000 home, even if it was for an investment property. So, I mean, we spent $800,000 last year on a package of properties, but that was 20 doors. You've got around 30K. Yep. Yep. There are several guys in the mastermind that do not have any properties yet, or very few properties. Yeah. You guys are on track. This is awesome. You could do a lot of damage with 60K. That's a You could get a couple of properties very quickly. You could probably turn that 60K, depending on where you are in the world. If you were here in this market, you could turn that 60K probably into 2 or 3 properties with a decent reserve still. So that would be solid. I'm trying to think about this. I don't know. I don't think I would house hack. I don't think I would recommend you buying or trying to buy a house for $600,000 to $700,000 to house hack. I think, especially if you're planning on moving away after you graduate, I think that is just a lot of money to move for like a 2 to 3 year investment. 200. Let me check. I got the spreadsheet open. Let's see. As of today, it is 204. So after today, it'll be like 206. We've got 17 additional properties under contract. So by the end of the month, we should be north of 220. Hey, Ryan, recently found your channel and I'm a big fan. Thanks for doing what you do. I'm a new investor in Northern Kentucky. Nice. Welcome. My question is about building a team and networking. I read a lot. How should you be talking to local property managers, whether or not you plan to use them? Is it normal for property managers to get calls from investors with 0 to 1 houses and to talk to them? Or is this advice more about networking with property managers at real estate investors? So it's tough, and you kind of have to be respectful. And when you have, 0 to 1 doors, you definitely want to be respectful of their time, since a lot of the people that are going to be in this team are paid on like a commission only basis. So they're not going to get paid for their time in talking to you until you get a property. And then if it's just one property, the amount of money that they make is going to be pretty slim compared to, if somebody with like 10 or 20 properties came in and started asking them questions. So one of the best things that I think that you could do is, yes, network, yes, go to the RIAs and other things, and try to figure out a way to provide some sort of value to them. So that's what I did with like the insurance. So I got my property and casualty license and kind of built a business around providing insurance to real estate investors, because it's really difficult to get good insurance as a real estate investor. And yep, Cosmic Wisdom, he's in Cincinnati. You guys can link up. Oh, look at that, man. Maybe we need to do some sort of live event in Cincinnati, or probably Westchester. That's a more reasonable drive. Yeah. So building a team, you should definitely do it, but at the same time, I would try to figure out ways that you can help them rather than just have them kind of, pouring information into you, because it's just a tall ask. And I know a lot of people that are in these commission only positions get a little bit burnt out talking to people with like 0 to 1 properties. Yep. One of the red flags that I would say for property managers that I would look out for is just make sure that there's no like contract termination fee. That's a red flag to me. Like if the 2 people don't like working together, you should just be able to, cancel that contract. You shouldn't have to pay a fee, or lock in anything. What's the best way to go about getting your first property under contract? I would say look at a lot of deals, analyze a lot. I would probably recommend analyzing at least 100 properties before you before you go about putting one under contract, unless you just get like a really good deal thrown in your lap. I just want you to make sure that you know exactly what you're looking at and have some experience in running numbers. You're going to want to have a pretty decent reserve. I know you're in California, so this probably isn't applicable, but I wouldn't recommend having a reserve less than $10,000 for your first property. And I wouldn't recommend buying anything in California, honestly. Um, I would say if you're able to move somewhere else, I would move somewhere else. Just because a place, costs $600,000 to $700,000 for you to live there, doesn't mean that you should live there. So figure out what you want to do with your life, and figure out if you could do what you want to do with your life somewhere else that's more affordable, so that you can get a foothold in the market a lot easier. So that's what I would recommend. I would start looking at more affordable markets. Cool. Yeah, hey, since this is fun, let's just go ahead and meet in Westchester. You guys send me an email, and let's get some lunch. Probably maybe even this weekend. That'll be exciting. Or next weekend. Regardless, you guys just send me an email and we'll get it put together. Are above 600 unless they are a 2-3 hour drive away. Should I wait till I'm older and have saved more money? If not, what should I do? I would say so. I would invest in real estate still. I would look at maybe, I don't know anything about Canada. I know, 30 grand, you can easily find a real estate investor willing to give you 10 to 12% on that money, which would be like $3 grand a year. I mean, I hope you guys can respect and appreciate where I'm coming from, but like here on the MLS, I mean, in Ohio, you can buy properties regularly for $50,000 to $100,000 that need no work. So it's just I'm really hard pressed to wrap my head around paying $600,000 to $700,000 for a normal home, and I just can't like. If that is what I was up against, I would move. Um, I wouldn't live in a place that costs that much. So I don't know what the perks could be to that area when there are still so many places that you can live for significantly cheaper. And I get that like moving away from family is difficult, or moving away from where you grew up might be difficult, but at the same time, I think it's extraordinarily difficult to justify buying a 700,000 or spending $700,000 for a 1,500 square foot home. If you live in California, that's what I'm saying this morning, Cool. Yeah, they would be able to give you better advice. I'm a one trick pony. I invest in the Midwest to the price point of like 550 to 100 grand, and that's what I know. I mean, if you're going to buy a house for you to live in and you're going to live there, then yeah, put down as little as possible, get the longest term you can, the lowest rate that you can, and then live there for 6 months and do it again. I mean, that's that's the best strategy if you're going to do this like owner occupant thing. Turn them into rentals as you leave. I would just make sure that your monthly payment, on the $350,000 home, whenever you rent it out, that the monthly rent will cover, you know, all of the expenses and have some cash left over. Yeah. Yes, I would recommend that. I would just be really careful. The best out of state investors that I know, they regularly come to the area that they invest in. So If you live in California and want to invest in Ohio, I would just make sure that you regularly come out to Ohio. I would not buy properties. I feel like I have seen a lot of out-of-state investors get burned when they put too much trust into the local hands and they don't visit to verify frequently enough. So if you are going to buy out of state, make sure you spend a significant amount of time in that other state. I know one California investor, she lives in California, but she probably spends 4 to 6 months of the year here tending to her portfolio. Yeah, thank you, man. I seriously appreciate you. We've got 27 people on. That's tons of fun. Any questions in the chat, I will answer them to the best of my ability. And I'm a huge fan of saying I don't know when I really don't know. So we invest here in Dayton, Ohio. My entire business model is using private money to purchase and rehab homes. And then we refinance those homes with the private money with a traditional lender. And then we pay back our investors and do it over and over and over again. So we've got about $4 million of private money that is just very cyclical. We buy stuff, we rehab stuff, we refinance stuff. And we just turn the private money into bank money. So it's amortized over long periods, pay back the investors. We pay the investors 10 to 12% interest only on a monthly basis. They don't want their money back because they like getting 10 or 12% on a monthly basis. So they ask us to redeploy that money, and we go out, put more properties under contract, and just keep doing it over and over again. So we've had to make a couple of adjustments just because when we started doing this, our all-in price on properties was about 40 grand. And now it's closer to 60 or 70 grand, maybe even a little bit higher on some of the larger properties. So all the costs have gone up just across the board, but that's consistent with, the money printing. How do you go about getting private money? It's a long game. I mean, there's a book called Raising Private Capital by Matt Faircloth. That's a good read. It pretty much just comes down to educating people about how to use their retirement accounts to set up like a self-directed IRA and getting their money out of Wall Street and into the local community. So our first private investor was a friend of mine. We worked together for quite some time. We left our jobs about the same time, and he had, I think it was like $25,000 or $30,000 in his retirement account. He rolled that over to a self-directed and lent it to us at 10%. And since then, I mean, some people have cash on hand that they just don't want sitting in the bank that they'll lend out to us. But I would say most people just use their retirement accounts in like a self-directed format. Do you visit the properties you're renovating often? Yes. We have a project manager. He is probably in the properties that we're rehabbing on a daily basis just to check in with the contractors, make sure that everything is going according to plan, make sure they have everything they need, and they're following through with their end of the deal. So, yes. And before we had the project manager, most of what I did on a daily basis was going around checking in on contractors and solving any problems that they may have had along the way. Now, I would say most of what I do is drive around looking at additional properties to purchase. Absolutely. I think I don't know. In my opinion, right now, like if I had to pick an area to double down on, I would double down on educating people how to get their money out of Wall Street and into the hands of like local investors that actually offer investment vehicles that have high accountability to them. Nothing's worse than like a stock market crash, everybody losing their money and nobody really being held accountable for anything. Like how many times do we need to, be the victims of a stock market crash just to find out a couple years later when movies are made or documentaries come out about how it was the manipulation of Wall Street that actually ended up robbing, the middle class, upper middle class people of their retirement savings. Like how many times does that cycle have to go through before people stop empowering Wall Street with all of their retirement savings? So when you've got local small businesses, when you've got local real estate investors that are trying to improve communities, that are trying to, move the needle on the area that you live in, that you could be positively impacted from. When you can, if your money tanks, you can actually look at the person that tanked it. You can make sure, that you could even intervene if the thing starts going south, if they are in trouble. You can get together, brainstorm on ways that you could improve the situation, right? Like, I think probably the best thing that people could do for themselves at the moment is take some time to learn just enough to make their own investments rather than trusting one of these financial institutions to do it for you, and pay them 2%, regardless as to whether you make money or lose money. So that's how I feel. And I think if you were to, at one point, I can't remember the statistic, Matt Faircloth talks about it in that Raising Private Capital book, but I think there's somewhere north of $1 trillion in retirement funds that are just sitting there, not in the market, because, again, nobody wants to be the victim of one of these little stock market thingies. Morning, Ryan. Can anyone be your private lender, and how much is the minimum you collect from private lenders? So we do. I mean, yeah, anybody can be our private lender that wants to invest in first position mortgages. The minimum, it's one property per investor. So it really just depends. Generally, what will happen is somebody will reach out to us. They will let us know how much money they have to invest, and then we will reach out to that person whenever we have a property under contract in that price range that they're able to do. So if you've got $15,000 and that's all you've got, then, we would try and find a property. Like right now, I saw one recently, a property on the MLS for like 10,000. Obviously it needs a lot of work, but if we can use that investor's money to purchase that $10,000 property, we would have $5,000 for rehab, and then we would use our funds to cover the rest of the rehab. We could make that work. Sometimes, instead of investing in a first position mortgage, if you've got 15, we might have a property that has a lot of equity in it. We would clear it with the other person. We would do a second position mortgage on that high equity property. That way you can make your 10, 12%. And then we would utilize those funds to either acquire or rehab another property. So there's no real minimum. It's just about, not pooling money. So each loan is secured by a mortgage, and, the same promissory note and mortgage apply. What do you use to track the notes, rates, balances for your private money? So most of the private money balances are interest only. So all we really need to keep track of is the note, the rate, and when that balloon payment is due. And we have a spreadsheet so that, right now our business is comprised of about 4 spreadsheets. So the balances for the private money that we have that is amortized, then attached to the note is an amortization schedule, which will, show like whatever month you're in, like the entire term of the entire duration of that note, the amortization schedule for that would be there. So in the event that we wanted to pay it off, we might have to do some daily rate, daily balance checking closer to like refinance or paying it off. But for the most part, you can just see the balance in the month. Yeah, it sure isn't. And what gets me right now, and I know that I went on a rant about this last week as well, but what really gets me is since I've been on TikTok, I've gotten a bunch of landlord people are the problem, blah, 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 a whole bunch of just nonsense. But, what I think is funny is, the same people that want to complain about like the consolidation of power and how, the elite are doing X, Y, and Z wrong. They all have retirement funds sponsored by their employers that are going straight to Wall Street. That's funding the unbalance. So those are my thoughts. Let me see if anybody emailed me. Financing advice. Rental application received. Man, nobody from this potential Westchester meeting has emailed me. Yeah, just like that. I got excited, thought it was going to happen, and here you guys are not emailing me. It's all good. It'll be fun if it happens. All right. Any questions you guys might have? Let me know. You emailed me, huh? Oh yeah, you did. Cool. I'll take it back. All right. Any questions people might have? Go ahead, throw them in the chat. I think I've got about 15 minutes. I'll probably head out around 9 a.m. so that I could get to this property that a fire happened in, and then to closing. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. No, nope. So this is a apartment complex. I write the insurance on it, so I just need to go check it out and get all the insurance stuff started on it. Unfortunately, it's not. On which MLS you find that $10,000 property? It was just right on the. I mean, you could use Zillow or Trulia or anything else to find it. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I want to say that I know the address. Victor. It was on Victor Avenue in Dayton. I want to say it was like 52 Victor. 52 Victor Avenue, Trulia. Yeah, 52 Victor Avenue for sale for $10,000. I mean, hey, when you scroll through the pictures, you'll see why it's $10,000. But I'm just saying they're out there. They're out there, Irene. All things new. Yeah, I remember you. Really appreciate your support. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming back around. I had 2 interviews yesterday. I'm trying to hire a social media manager, like on a full-time basis. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm going to try to do my best to hire someone to more consistently post across all platforms. And honestly, I feel like what I do on a daily basis, there's a lot of things that would make for fantastic content. It's just really hard for me to record myself and do all the things that I need to do. So if I've got someone that's with me that can record and I can talk through them, all the things that we're doing, I think that would make for fantastic content. And I think that would allow us to post more consistently because, as I get distracted with running real businesses, posting content is one of the first things that goes to the wayside. And I'm not particularly thrilled about that because consistency is everything in growing an audience. And I'm not trying to, yeah, Franklin's not far. It's between us. And yep, I'm in Dayton. So I'm not trying to grow like a massive audience, but there's definitely a lot of benefit to having a social media platform and being able to get information out there. And one of my life goals is to just have a decent amount of impact and help people make the improvements on their life that they are interested in making. So if I take that seriously, then it really becomes a numbers game, and reaching more people is a surefire way to make sure that I have that impact. So as soon as I make one of these hires, both people said that they're interested yesterday. So we'll see if either accept. The last person I hired, they're supposed to start at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, and they quit at 8:30. So, and talking to other small business owners, I know that they've all had similar experiences. So hiring someone will also be a numbers game. All right, we've got about 10 more minutes. Any questions that you guys might have? In the meantime, happy to answer them. Also, congrats. We hit 30 people on this live stream at one point, which makes me pretty excited. I think that might be one of the highest One of the highest viewership that we've had. All right, Lucas got your email. Jack got your email. There was another person, right? Cosmic Wisdom. Just waiting on you, man. And then I'll turn this into a group email thread. We'll get up. All right, Cosmic Wisdom, send us an email, man. Here's my email address again, ryan@seekwisdom.us. All right. Well, let me see what else I can talk about for about 9 minutes. So I had lunch with a lady yesterday. She has 3 rental properties. Her first 2, I believe, she bought them rent ready. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they were. And the third one that she purchased, she expected it to be about $10,000 worth of rehab. It ended up being $45,000 worth of rehab. And she plans on keeping this long term, but in order to finish the rehab and do everything the appropriate way, she actually had to refinance her home to pull out some equity to finish everything up. So, she was just making the point that she's extraordinarily thankful that she had the assets in order to finish things appropriately. However, she thought, to her own estimates, everything that she had read and learned, she thought she estimated everything appropriately, and she did not. So her whole point was that real estate is such a capital intensive industry, which we've said, often on this channel, that you really have to be careful about the projects you take on and about keeping really big reserves and not running out of money. Hit that like button. Thanks, Tom. She's going to rent it out. Yeah. She will rent it out. So I think it really comes down to whatever you think you have enough money, you should still save some more. And, I know that I've had this conversation a lot when it comes to including like capital expenditures or repairs maintenance in your like analysis. But at the end of the day, like, you really need to have a big reserve on the sidelines because you likely can't save enough on a monthly basis to handle issues as they arise, unless you're doing it globally across your entire portfolio, in which case I think once you have about 10 properties or more, you can start playing off those law of averages or the law of large numbers, whatever you want to call it, where not all of your properties are going to need things at the same time. So generally all of the repairs can be cash flowed from the remainder of your portfolio. 18 people on. Got about 6 minutes before I need to hop off here. Now 20 people on. This is really exciting. This channel is growing. I'm really excited about this. I think it's just a matter of time before there's like 100 plus people on these live streams. It'll be really exciting. I think so. I mean, I think that's fine. I don't think I would. So, like the principal, insurance, tax, interest, whatever, like that is never going to be the issue, right? Like, so I don't know why you would measure that. Like, if you need to dip into your reserves, it's likely not because you need help paying your mortgage. It's likely because like the HVAC went out, right? So I don't know why you would say 6 months of that, like that's only going to be your expenses. Like, most people don't get tripped up on making the mortgage payment or paying their insurance or paying their taxes. They get tripped up because their roof goes out and then they need to redo their plumbing system, right? So the two biggest expenses that you could possibly have on your rental are the HVAC. Now, this is, of course, assuming there's no like foundation issues or any structural damage. So your HVAC and your roof are likely going to be the two biggest things, and those are going to hurt when you have to replace those. So if you've got now, this is not like once you grow your portfolio and continually growing it, like doing this for every property is for sure overkill. But I would say figure out what your roof is going to cost and figure out what it would cost to replace your HVAC system. Those are the two biggest expenses. If you've got those in reserve, so if the roof is going to be 10,000, the HVAC is going to be 6,000. I would have a reserve of about 16,000 for that property, and I would go ahead and sleep well at night and think to yourself, you know what? I'm bulletproof. Now, again, you don't need to keep $16,000 per property. When you have 10 properties, that's 160 grand sitting on the sidelines, and you're not going to have 10 roofs and 10 HVAC systems go out at the same time. So you're not going to need to do that. That would be very silly, arguably irresponsible. What's the best way to source contractors? I've been hearing meetups is best, but the Rona has kept me far away from public meets for now. Any other ways I can source contractors? Word of mouth. If you know some other investors in the area, I would ask them for some recommendations. I think pretty much word of mouth is how we get all of our contractors. So that's what I would say. Word of mouth. Asking around to other investors. The contractors that you've used in the past that you're a fan of, I would reach out to them and say, hey, who else? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah. Now, if it makes you feel any better, we face these same issues. We always get probably multiple contractors a month just don't show up on us. And then there are several that, we use and we give them a job and we show up on the job when they should be working on the job and they're not there. So it's a constant struggle and seem to not know enough. That's one of the things that we ask people to be really upfront about. Like, hey, like if this is too much for you, if you don't know how to do this, like just let us know. Don't try and work your way through it. Let us help connect with people that do know how to do it and help you through this. Don't try to reinvent the wheel yourself. All right. Good questions. I really appreciate that. Any more questions? Got about 2 minutes left. More than happy to answer those. All right. Well, let me see if Cosmic Wisdom pulled through. Sent an email. Not quite. I have heard that, and I wouldn't do it. Checks and balances is really important. And generally, the property manager, it's a service that most property management companies offer, but I wouldn't trust it. Yeah, I think I agree with you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Actually, like for most of the property management companies that we've used, we never had any good experience with them finding the contractors. They also generally charge like a 10% fee on top of whatever the contractor. So if the contractor charges $2,000, they'll stack another $200 on top of it. That's just silly, just for making the coordination and whatnot. And you could probably do it, especially if you've got, just a couple of properties. Well, we do that same thing, and we've got plenty of properties. So yeah, I wouldn't use property management for the contractors, even though it's convenient. It's not going to be very effective, and you're going to spend more and probably get lower quality stuff. All right. Well, hey, I sure do appreciate it. Next week, Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard, I'll be right here. You guys go out and put some stuff under contract. Read some books if you don't put anything under contract.